Well, I begin by reflecting on the many hostages that are still held in Gaza. I am thinking of their loved ones. I'm particularly thinking of Emily Damari, the British hostage, and her family. And my heart bleeds for them a year later. And of course, I'm reflected on a year of war in which thousands of people have lost their lives, and the inability to reach a hostage deal and a ceasefire and bring this crisis to an end.
Foreign Secretary, why do you think there is an inability? I mean, we've seen Joe Biden propose various different deals with the help of the Egyptians and the Qataris a number of times. The US president has said that Prime Minister Netanyahu, frankly, has been a roadblock a number of times to a number of ceasefire deals that have been put on the table.
Well, look, I am grateful to the work that the United States has done to try and get this deal over the line. And of course, I have been in almost weekly contact with Tony Blinken, particularly in relation to that, but also the work of Egypt and Qatar to do their best to get this deal over the line. I do accept what the United States says, which is that 90% of the deal is there. All issues in the end come back to the security guarantees that I think that Israel understandably wants in order to withdraw from Gaza, but also the deals that are necessary to ensure that Hamas are not continuing to run Gaza. Diplomacy continues and must continue. And as I always say, diplomacy fails until it works.
Mr. Lammy, I spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu's top advisor, who described the license suspension by the UK, by you, as shameful. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself said that it was shameful, especially on the day when they had 6 hostages and their bodies returned here to Israel. On the other side, human rights organizations have said that, frankly, it was just symbolic. It's not going to actually make a difference on the ground. So was this just symbolic? Because on the one hand, there are those who are saying it wasn't going far enough, it's not going to make a difference. On the other hand, it's angered many here in Israel because when the going got tough, they feel that the UK turned on them.
Look, in a grown-up world, this is a crisis in which it's impossible to please everyone all of the time. That is just the truth of it. Margaret Thatcher's government imposed serious restrictions on arms sales to Israel. David Cameron's government imposed restrictions on arms sales to Israel. Gordon Brown's government imposed restrictions on arms sales to Israel. And it's because we have the most robust export licensing regime that I reached the decision I did in relation to arms sales that could be used in Gaza particularly, and suspended those arms. And I stand by those decisions, which were not political decisions. They were quasi-legal decisions based on whether there was an assessment under criteria 2C of our export licensing regime and whether there was a clear risk that Israel could be in breach of international humanitarian law. And I stand by that quasi-legal judgment.
And you felt that you feel that risk was there?
Yes, I made an assessment on the basis of the advice that I received and the assessments that I had to look through, that particularly in relation to humanitarian access and aid, which the UK government have been raising now for months and months and months. And of course, the last estimates were that 60 trucks were getting in a day. And we acted with colleagues in the UN to stop polio spreading to young people. That situation is particularly stark, and also in relation to the treatment of detainees. And I make that with no, this is not with any joy. It's with tremendous regret, but we made that assessment on the basis of the clear legal advice.